All right, we are back, everybody, and going to be taking some questions. And for those of you tuning in, I guess for the first time or haven't tuned in a while, what we do now in the Q&A section is we just go to Reddit, we sort by top, and we go through them that way. It seems to be the best way to do it. So make sure you upvote the questions that you like the most, or even your own question if you want to do that. All right, first off, we got Bus Sevener. Bus Sevener? I don't know how you pronounce that. To Destiny. In previous editions of Unfiltered, you were critical of many commentators for being biased towards particular players in matches. These commentators would phrase their sentences differently to help players that they like or hurt players that they didn't like. During GameOn, I'm sure you would agree that both you and Katz were biased towards Root members, Desro, etc. Having now cast an event, would you say that your stance on this topic has changed, or would you say that allowing biasism really only matters in certain situations, environment, etc.?
What's up? I think there's a difference. I mean, obviously, wow, it's biased because we're talking about myself. But, I mean, like, we were pretty obvious when we were being biased. And I'm not going to lie and say, like, for instance, like, definitely casting all of Chad's games. I fucking love Chad. But I was pretty openly biased towards it. I think there's a big difference between, especially, like, we'll cast, where, like, me and Katz are clearly joking and are, like, clearly, you know, calling Chad the best foreigner in the history of all fucking mankind and, you know, going up against Scarlet. Obviously, a lot of tongue-in-cheek there. I think it's pretty obvious that we're being sarcastic there and maybe showing a little bit of favoritism because we like Chad, as opposed to two casters that have a reputation for being professional, who are doing play-by-play and analysis professionally, and then dick riding the ever-loving fucking shit out of every single little thing that a Korean does that's, like, totally fucking standard play, you know? I think that there's a difference there. But, I mean, I'm talking about myself, so I have every motivation to defend myself, but, you know, but I mean, that's how I would say, you know?
James, what do you think? What do you think on the whole subject matter of, I guess, some casters, maybe even some of your casters during WCS, maybe favoring...
To bring James up on what I'm talking about here. Yeah. So what I'm talking about, and I don't know if you noticed this or not, but there are some Korean favorites who, when you get, like, these play-by-play analysis casters, I don't know if it's because they don't play very much or what, but they go fucking crazy over every, like, I remember
SOS,
this happened a lot in, like,
example.
the SOS games.
Yeah.
Oh my fucking god, it's like, when you see that SOS placed that pylon at exactly that time and exactly that spot, and it's such a brilliant pylon placement, and the way that he holds the probe there so that you can throw it on a pylon, just amazing SOS play, top level Korean, blah blah. Like, they'll go through and they'll talk about, like, every little thing that, like, literally, like, mid-masters, you know, SEA server people will do, and it gets, like, really fucking tiring. Or where you'll see, like, a battle go down, and, like, the dick riding of, like, certain players is so fucking unbearably stupid. Where both sides are playing pretty good, but for some reason, every little, like, normal thing the other player's doing is being pointed out as, like, some god tier thing. I don't know, that bugged the shit out of me for a while.
So, I think it's really contextual. I think if anybody, like, there's no reason to explain why Destiny and Cat's casting is not the same as what we would expect from Tasosis and, you know, Caldor Wolf, Apollo, and Caleris. You know, I don't think we need to have that discussion. They're different, and if you don't get it, okay, stop watching the show. As far as, like, the dick riding stuff, some of it is, I think, intentional in that they're looking to get people excited who maybe don't know why they should be excited. You know, so I directed the StarCraft 2 stage at BlizzCon, and for the final match, when it was going out on DirecTV and it was going out on the main stage to 15,000 WoW fans, I told Testosis and Paulo, like, hey, let's make sure we keep a little more general, like, when you say he's got 400 APM, explain what APM is and why does that matter. And, you know, I remember Tasteless had a line where he said, oh, wow, this guy's revolutionizing Protoss.
Yeah, I remember that statement.
Remember that? Mm-hmm. And, like, everybody who is on Reddit or is in that chat right now and remembers that probably rolled their eyes and said, oh, my God, Tasteless, like, what kind of nerd are you? Why would you say something like that? He's not revolutionizing Protoss. But the net benefit to the experience of that time for someone watching is like, holy shit, I'm part of history right now. I'm watching something really amazing. And maybe they don't care about it 2 weeks later, but, you know, the thing, like, we always throw around the office, like, people don't have very good memory for specific details on events, but they got really good memories for how things made them feel. So people don't remember what fucked up at NESL Season 1 finals, just that it made them feel bad. People don't necessarily remember that, say, like a DreamHack final had a big long delay, but they remember the uns and the lasers and Hero Spring Champagne. Like that emotion is what we're supposed to be trying to create in these experiences. So there's some value to it. I think a lot of it too is because casters don't always get a lot of direction, and they're kind of left to just freestyle it. And they sort of probably have some ideas like, I got to make this exciting for the casual, and also some of them probably use it as a crutch. So there's a mix of it. It's really situational. Sometimes it makes sense to be that to take that approach. But for like a round of 16 Code-S game that's a very specific matchup, probably not.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that too. But you have to remember that it's about making, to some degree, it's about making the event as successful as possible. And to give you an example, I mean, look at the DreamHacks where Nannywall did great, made it to the finals and stuff. You'll notice that the production, it was heavy on the side of Nannywall. Whether it was the casters or it was the camera work or any of that stuff. I mean, and it was, I don't know if they were instructed, maybe they were instructed to do that, but it made for the viewership to like rise by 20, 30,000 because of that sort of bias.
So we added a first person perspective on BlizzCon. Whenever there was a very clear crowd favorite, like I specifically chose that guy a lot more. People have this idea that you have to split stuff 50-50, and that's just not the case.
Yeah.
For entertainment, like people, it's just not the case. It's very situational, and it sort of depends what's going on in the game. And it's more of an art than a science. So to say it's flat out wrong to do it one way or the other is, not really that interesting.
Let's move on to the next question. Weazon asks, to all of us, do you think Blizzard would stop supporting SC2 if Hearthstone turned out to be a huge esports phenomenon or Heroes of the Storm? I mean, I don't think they'll ever stop supporting it.
Nope.
Will they dedicate more resources to the others? Yeah, I'm sure.
I mean, what do they mean by stop supporting? Like, you just like tear down the servers? I think the servers are still for like Brood War and Diablo 2, aren't they?
No, I think they mean esports. Like, would they stop supporting maybe the esports StarCraft 2 scene?
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't know. I think
I wish that Blizzard would turn WCS into a platform for all of their games.
I think they might. I think they still might. I don't know with the how they view the brand, but it easily could be. WCS could cover all their titles if they wanted. Yeah. What do you think, James?
Dead silence.
All right. Let's see. Next up, opinion on League having 27 million daily players. It's great. Like, it's great for League. That's about it. I don't know. I don't have much more to say than that. You guys, anything?
No,
right.
It's very cool.
I mean, it's what are we?
Yeah, it's not much to say there.
27 million.
Was that
More
was
than
that a question
26
that
and
got
less than
voted?
28.
That was the question.
Did that question really get upvoted?
Well, it's like a multiple questions in this guy. Let's see. Destiny, are you going to be a bit more forgiving for event production issues, having had to deal with it at an event of your own?
Do what happened? Wait, read that again.
I guess will you be more forgiving of event production issues?
Oh no, I don't think we had any production issues. The only issue, apparently, some people, when everything was finished, started saying that the audio levels were low, but we never got that feedback at all, except for like the one-off person. So I mean, that's something that we'll look at next time. And the other issue was just had to do with like CDN, like content delivery bullshit, which I don't think we can really do anything about.
Yeah. Okay. Kennigit, there's one same guy. How does it feel being on different sides of an issue with your old home? I guess your old home being TL. On the 100K thing, TL has a pretty bad opinion of it in general.
Well,
Really?
I disagree with that.
Really? Okay.
I mean, open up the Reddit thread right now and do the top voted comments and see what's positive, what's neutral, and what's negative. And I mean, at worst, it's 50-50. It's very hard to classify. Like, Carmack and I discuss a lot of stuff regarding IEM and StarCraft and even Dota and other stuff. And I'm typically a lot more player focused in my thinking. And, sometimes we play devil's advocate against each other, but because I have that background from a team, that certainly plays into the way I evaluate these situations. The 100K thing is, it's just such a... So look at the GameOn term. How many players was in Destiny? 16?
16.
How
Yeah.
many players got paid from it?
4.
Okay.
Okay.
So like a bunch of people spent time doing that and didn't make money, but they got, exposure, they got their name out there again, blah, 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 blah.
It's online though. That's a lot. That's a lot cheaper than having to fly.
Yeah, sure, it's a lot
Yeah,
cheaper,
full
but
on.
if we're talking about like time investment and stuff like this, it's a... I look at it as the event itself is an overall net positive to the entire player space of StarCraft 2, rather than what it would be if it was, those 16 players all getting paid a little bit each. Because if the hype of the event is 50 times more than what it would be otherwise, and I think that's a good thing for the space, because it gives incentive for other tournaments to follow suit. Like the first thing that Adam Apicella and Greycard said on Twitter and to me privately, and I respect those guys' opinions on this sort of stuff more than just about anybody, was, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's kind of a cool idea because who's not going to watch that tournament now? So
Right.
I would totally hope and expect that DreamHack does something crazy with their StarCraft. It doesn't have to be the same, but I expect they'll play with stuff just because they can. And I hope MLG does too, and we keep this thing interesting and drive overall momentum into the player space. It's not just about 15 players on this one tournament on this one occasion who are already in the top earners of players not making money on potentially on one event.
Okay.
It's about momentum for me.
All right. There's some more questions here. I think we kind of answered just really through some of the topics in regards to IM and GameOn. Let's see. The Red Viper asks to Destiny, now that Tasteless started streaming Brood War, when will you start streaming it as well?
As soon as my new computer gets here to play Brood War.
It's gotta be fast enough. Here we
good.
go.
Well
Let's
done.
see. Next up, Kennigit, what do you think about UK esports events? DreamHack have recently been discussing the possibilities of one in 2015, which is fantastic, but has ESL ever looked into producing an event here? It's strange the best event we had was the 2012 WCS UK National, when there were so many viewers of StarCraft 2 and other esports in this country.
So we have an ESL UK office, and they just built out their studio, and they're still, it's basically done now. They've been doing WCS EU Challenger, and that's why there was a little bit of hiccups in the first couple of broadcast days, because they were still working out kinks in the production. But it's certainly a really interesting market to us, and yeah, I know UK in general is kind of overlooked, and just has stuff like iSeries, but basically what happens is, we look at our broadcasts and we look at where people are coming from, and we look at the spaces and what games make sense in what areas. For example, I don't know, would World of Tanks do well in a UK event? I don't know. Would StarCraft? I don't know. You got to look at the numbers and see where it makes sense to run events.
Okay.
So yeah, UK could work in a big city.
Z Pinker PNKR asks, with a lot of Americans being vocal of not having enough competition and chances to win money, how do the hosts feel about GameOn being invite only with a player vote for popular players? Katz was one of the guys asking for more ways for Americans to make a splash, but when he got the chance to run a tournament, all we got was an old boys club tournament mixed with popular players. And then he continues on with some of the IEM talk again with 100K. I don't know. What are your thoughts see, what are my thoughts on invite only? I think right now we have to start with making some events successful, and I think he might be referring to just having up and coming players maybe have a chance to really make a name for themselves. But the issue right now is like even in the players that we even know that are kind of that are popular, these players are struggling too. So right now I think we just need to have some events that will be successful enough to be consistent and can provide more opportunities in the future for maybe some of those people that maybe you're looking for. Steven, what do you think?
Sure.
That's it.
Wait, can you repeat the question? I'm sorry. Holy fuck, I just got hella distracted for a second.
Basically, what do you think of so it says a lot of Americans being vocal about not having enough competitions or a chance to win money, but then when we have this game on, it's like invite only, and it's either invite only or vote on popular players.
Yeah. I'm sorry. No, I understand what you just said. Okay, I'm sorry. My brain was for a second. Yeah, that really sucks.
It really sucks.
No, I mean it absolutely really sucks. The 8 of the invites went to people who were at WCS before. So you could argue that you had a chance to get invited by doing well at WCS. Although obviously that can be a little bit restrictive, right? Because if you didn't make WCS, then what? You're just fucked until the next WCS, if that's where you draw the invites from. So I can understand that. 4 of the invites were just fan favorites, so if you've got a big stream like Desro, you're okay, or if you're like a lot of people like you, you're okay. But then 4 were special invites, so you're fucked otherwise. Obviously, I think the only way around that is to run qualifiers, right?
I mean, is it really about? I mean, again, like for me at GameOn, it was more of I don't know. I could be wrong. More of a testing.
I just got like the best idea that somebody mentioned before.
What? My point was that I feel like GameOn is still, kind of testing waters and trying to see if this type of model, with NA will be successful or not.
But I can understand the frustration, especially because there are 2 tournaments that are coming up very soon that I'm not allowed to talk about yet. Not all MLGs, but there are like a lot of like invitational only tournaments, and so like I understand that grievance, right? It makes a lot of sense. For a lot of people, like we need NA only tournaments to build the NA scene, and it's like that's really good. I agree, but then they're all invitationals, for people who probably don't need the money anyway. I mean, everybody kind of needs the money, but like you're inviting people who are probably better off than the average, mid-tier programmer who doesn't make anything, right?
Yeah, I mean it's half and half. I think half of the folks.
No. Like, I'm just saying that I understand. I agree with the, I agree with that sentiment. Mm-hmm. I think the only solution would be to have more like more qualifiers, or maybe to do like another ladder thing, like what Total Biscuit did. Like the top, 8 people on the ladder get invited to the tournament, stuff like that. I think. Yeah. Would be cool.
Can I get any thoughts on that question?
I mean, it's the first tournament, and I would expect them to try and start it with a bang with some old familiar faces to get it off the ground.
Yeah.
And then keep X players from last season, run some qualifiers, or do a ladder qualifier or something, and go from there. The fundamental issue is that because we have so few players that are actually marketable and drive viewership and drive hype,
right?
There is it puts pressure on organizations to have these players in the event. Like, are people going to watch like Puck Kane, or are they going to watch Destiny and Control? If you put both those matches on at the same time, what are they going to watch? Well, certainly both of their chat channels are going to show up to spam it with Kappa face. And those things just kind of get momentum. So
yeah,
unfortunately, the viewership drives it, and what people suspect to be the viewership drives it. The Carmack blog that everyone keeps referencing, when he wrote it, was sort of at the peak period where everyone was just on this wicked cycle of just driving as much money and as much hype and as many crazy players as they could, put 500 players in a room and see what happens. Remember all that? Remember IPL, like the first few IPLs of the casinos, and how friggin' insane those were for the spends of bringing that many Koreans over, and like it just went crazy to be better than the other tournament because you had better players and you had more money, and there was never any investment into these into the space. And that's what the Carmack vlog was about. That's what he was trying to do with IAM, and that's what IAM has always tried to do. The problem is that you can't, like, in a perfect world, MLG would have done the GameOn stuff in 2010 and built NA. But unfortunately, there was so much else going on and so many more competitors. And, there's the Korea factor where they had to basically, it was a race who could get Koreans over the first.
Yeah, that's where it
remember
started.
that? Remember when they flew basically all the Slayers over? Like they were doing crazy stuff like that too because it was driving hype and momentum and investing a whole bunch of money to get some no-name North American players wasn't that interesting because the numbers didn't work.
Your point of just trying to one-up each other, I think, is really valid. And unfortunately, and I was saying it back then too when it was happening that I think we started to poison the water a little bit, and it's got to the point where it was just point of no return. And DreamHack has able, at least for the most part, has been able to kind of retain this kind of mixture of both Koreans and foreigners. But MLG and IPL went, I think, way overboard, and that's kind of what led to all that. I think what you're talking about, and it's a different time though right now, and I think that's been really the theme of what we've been talking about today.
Yeah.
All right. Musicus has a question. This is to Destiny and ChanManV, and this kind of brings up something I did forget to talk about with the whole 100K thing. It's kind of a troll question, but do you think Idra and Cruncher would ever split 100K if they met in the IM World Championship Finals?
Oh, is that the same guy? That's the guy I called out.
Oh, is
I
it?
don't think I think it must be the same guy because I called him out.
No,
I really don't think they would.
I don't think they would
You
ever.
don't think so? I think they would.
You think Nurtio would split 100K with TLO?
All right,
$100,000. I think people would agree pre-hand to a split.
Okay, let's talk about players splitting prize pools. So, I was not aware that it was a common occurrence for StarCraft 2 players to ever split prize pool, and I think we heard about Naniwa and Scarlet kind of doing that with the show match recently with the whole Bitcoin thing. But does this happen a lot in tournaments that you guys know of?
I mean,
Steven?
I was under the impression a few years ago from the few people that I've talked to that it's fairly common. Like, if I heard somebody, if I heard somebody doing it, I would never be surprised. Like, oh, okay, it's good.
James, have you heard much of?
Yeah, I mean, Korean players do, certainly.
So what do their teams think about that? I mean, do they care at all, or?
What, the Korean players?
Yeah,
No,
I mean, because the
think so.
teams, the teams are the ones that usually, I think, receive the money first, right? And then it's like redistributed, however.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the specifics, but yeah, I think a lot of the Koreans, especially the younger ones, and there's like a cultural thing there, right? Where they kind of all go over and they're closer, and a lot more of them are friends with each other. So they say, hey, if we meet in the finals, we'll split it some way. It's yeah, it happens.
Good or bad
Not
thing?
every prize pool, but yeah, it happens.
It's good or bad thing, or just nah? It's okay.
Doesn't
it's no
matter.
big deal. No big deal. Okay.
It doesn't matter.
It's impossible to enforce, so it's kind of dumb to argue about. I mean,
Yeah.
there's literally no point in arguing about it.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell people what to do with their money afterwards. I mean, I guess it can be, there are pros and cons. I guess a bad thing is it could kind of go high for people, especially like in 100,000, take all. So I mean, like I could see that, but I mean, it's good for everybody. Especially in StarCraft 2, that could be such a swingy game. You never really know what's going to happen. So for everybody to be guaranteed some bit of money is usually better for everyone involved.
I guess have you ever heard of a situation where people shook on it and then like somebody totally reneged on it in the end after they won?
I think you would be like shunned from the entire community forever if you did that.
I mean, like think of an example. Like the first example that comes into my head is like Teja Hero. Like
Okay.
I don't know if they did, but I would assume just because they are close and on the same team that they said, hey, listen, maybe we'll split. But does that take away from any of the entertainment value that people got out of those final sets of games at DreamHack?
It only does when the people that are splitting are completely and totally fucking stupid. Like what happened with that League of Legends team, where they agreed to split and then they started playing the games like fucking retards.
Right.
Those people should have been executed, like lined up and shot
The
by a
ARAM
firing
shit.
squad. Because people that are that fucking stupid, like reproduction shouldn't be an option for them. I couldn't even believe how absolutely stupid that was. But no, for the most part, I mean, usually when splits like that happen, people agree to like a 60-40 or a 65-35 split too, so there's still incentive to win. I don't think that 50-50 splits are usually the most common unless you're like a really close friend. So I mean, there's still incentive to win, but I mean, the integrity of the game shouldn't be affected because usually you'd have to be really stupid to do that.
I mean, winning a title is in its own right something huge. So
yeah, that too.
Okay, that's interesting. Next up, we got Rumanek. He asks, why does ESL believe that Poland is the #1 European country for hosting events apart from DreamHack? Because these events can attract a lot more viewers if they'd be hosted somewhere you can actually make it a holiday and spend some time around sightseeing and such things. Okay, so I guess he's asking why is it in Poland? I guess the World Championship.
Well, it's not necessarily about the country as much as it is about the venue.
Okay.
So, like, Katowice, we're going to put, like, over 11,000 people live, loaded stadium for IEM. And that's what we did last year, right? And that's in Poland. At the same time, we did, a Dota event in Katowice, but in like a way smaller like set of hotel conference rooms, and it's like 60 people or something. So it's very much venue dependent and not country dependent. This year we'll be doing more stuff in other countries, specifically with Dota, outside of Poland.
So to his point, though, like, why not consider another city but with a smaller venue? Like, let's just say you did New York City again for the World Championship.
Because, I mean, a venue is a venue. And if you put 100 people in a room in New York City or you put 100 people in a room in, Berlin, it's, what is it? It's 100 people. And what you start to see in the StarCraft and Dota communities that people don't actually know what the word production value means, but when they see a big crowd, that in their mind says production value.
Yeah.
And so that's why, I mean, there's ways that you can drive people to that venue easier if you put it in a nice city, but the country itself doesn't matter a whole lot unless it's a financial thing, which it often is.
All right, one or two more questions here. We got Cotillion. He asks, do you think that if Blizzard didn't give exclusive rights to StarCraft 2 to GOM at the beginning, would there be a better StarCraft 2 scene in Korea right now? And it says, let's see, also with ESF disbanding, I take it as a good and necessary step towards unifying the StarCraft 2 scene in Korea. Do you think Korean scenes can still be saved and go towards a bright future, or will it just slowly die out in a couple years? All right, so first question. Do you think StarCraft 2 would be any better if exclusive? I guess if they didn't give exclusive rights to any company.
I think the big killer of StarCraft 2 in Korea is League of Legends. I mean, League of Legends is fucking huge in Korea. Like past, I think you could say past Brood War status at this point, right? Kennigit? So I don't know whether or not you give exclusivity to any one particular party would have made much of a difference, because it kind of came down to Blizzard's handling of the game and how the game came out and whatnot. I don't think that anybody. I mean, maybe it would have been a little bit different, or maybe not. I mean, that question could lead to a whole other argument and debate in and of itself. But I think that no matter what the conclusion of that argument is, it largely becomes irrelevant when you look at the popularity of League of Legends in Korea. And I don't see, them changing the way that StarCraft was handled, staving off the massive onslaught of League of Legends in Korea. And that's just my opinion, though.
James?
Yeah, I mean, League of Legends is insane, right? And you can't compare, like, the ecosystem that StarCraft was involved in, StarCraft 2 was involved in at launch compared to Brood War. And the reason Brood War got so big is because Korea had import bans on consoles from Japan. So everyone had to go play on a PC. And because PCs were so expensive in Korea and people didn't make a lot of money, they all went to PC bungs. So there's a million PC bungs all over Korea. And that's why people started playing Brood War in cafes. But what they were also playing a lot of was MMOs, and then they started playing a lot of free-to-play games. And because League of Legends is just ridiculously popular, it's crushing everywhere, not just Korea. So yeah, so I mean, it had that to deal with. And I mean, I think anyone who knows a little bit about K-pop knows that Korea is extremely trend-oriented, and if something is not cool to be involved with, that's it, right? And it was always really cool to be, well, sorry, maybe I should put an asterisk about that. If you were involved in gaming and you were in, like, esports, Brood War is cool back then.
Yeah.
And I listen for StarCraft 2, it's certainly not the same effect that Brood War was. But if you look at the LoL finals last weekend, yeah, a lot of people enjoy that, and it's cool to be a part of.
Yeah, see, the second part of the question was really just if unifying the Korean scene will, I don't know, help things, or just do you think it will just slowly die out in the next couple of years in Korea?
I think it'll continue to trend downwards. There's no reason to believe that it won't, even if the scene unifies. I mean, all of these issues were issues that like Blizzard kind of had to address. There's not much that we can do on our end from a team point, from a player point. I mean, there are like we can try our best, you know, like what James is doing with like the $100,000 tournament and all that. But large majority of how successful a game is going to be falls on the publisher. And if they're not able to get enough people playing it or interested in it, I mean, there's only so much you can do on the other end of that. You have to work with the numbers that ultimately fall down to you, which are given to you from Blizzard, you know?
Yeah, I agree. Okay, let's see if there's one more question. There was one earlier. There's a question about, actually there's a question to you, Kennigit, about the Counter-Strike, the 250k Counter-Strike tournament you guys had. Was it based on, let's see.
It's coming up. We haven't had it yet.
Oh yeah, sorry. Wavelulls asked, I was thinking of the DreamHack thing. Was one of the conditions of the ESL getting 250k to host a CS:GO tournament that they would have to use a map pool of Valve's choosing? Was there any stipulations like that?
I actually have no clue.
Okay.
For EMS1, I do all the show stuff, and I focus solely on Dota side. I'll work on either Counter-Strike or StarCraft at Kennigit. I don't know yet. Depends what we need. But yeah, I actually don't know anything about CS:GO. Well, as a game, except that I like to watch it casually. But I don't know the administration side of it, or about how the map system is working, about if we're picking it or if Valve's picking it.
Okay. I think that's going to be it, guys, for the questions. Lots of questions today. We answered a bunch of them, but let's wrap up the show. Kind of a quick show today. Not too many crazy things to talk about, except for mostly the IAM thing. So, James, appreciate you coming on the show, man. Had a good time, as always, and staying up late and hanging out with us. Want to do some shout-outs or thank yous?
Oh, yeah, I mean, check out IAM Sao Paulo this weekend. WCS Europe starting up soon. We're doing, I know we didn't talk about it at all, but basically since BlizzCon I've been working on it with our guys, and we've got some cool shit coming for it, to keep it fresh and
awesome.
You know, I didn't want it to be just a rehash of 2013, so we're gonna be doing some
we got
cool
11
stuff
months to talk about WCS, man.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, great. Steven, want to do some shout-outs, thank yous?
Thanks to Kennigit for joining us. Thanks for ChanManV for having me on.
Yeah.
Phoenix finally has their keyboard out, the Autor. Check it out, it's pretty cool. Otherwise, if you want to get a cell phone, destiny.gg/ting. Check out the savings calculator, you can figure out how much it'll cost. Or destiny.gg/shave if you want to order razors from Dallas Shave Club.
Awesome. For me, I'll just give a shout-out to you guys for doing the show with me today. Lots of fun. And for you folks watching it, VODs are going to be up at youtube.com/ChanManV. Next week, I will not be able to do Unfiltered on Tuesday next week, so we're going to have to move it to later on in the week, so we'll fill you in.
Why? What the fuck?
I'm going to be at a another AT&T thing in Dallas. Unfortunately, I actually don't even.
We'll have
want
a
to go,
special
but
show
I have to go.
dedicated to talking about Starbo, just for Desro.
Oh, just for Desra, exactly right. But yeah, so we'll do it later on in the week. Coming up on Friday, there's going to be a Blizzard Arcade Day that it's kind of like a two-part thing. The EU part's going to be something with like myself and Day 9, Husky, Hafu, Lumen, and I think maybe some of the other staff. We're going to be playing some arcade games with you guys, and then we're going to be doing Wednesday Night Sprites right after that for the NA portion. So lots of arcade on Friday. Come play with us. Check out the streams, all that good stuff under the event on TL. Be on the lookout for that. And follow us on Twitter at ChanManV, at Steven_Banel, and at Kennigit. And follow this Twitch channel if you enjoyed this show or any of the other shows I do, Value Town, Wednesday Night Sprites. Oh, another thing about Wednesday Night Sprites, it's not going to be tomorrow night. It'll be on Friday. And Value Town will be a Thursday, just like usual. That's going to be it. So for Kennigit, Destiny, ChanManV, we will see you next time. Later.